That's why we're bringing in friend of the show, political analyst Brian Sobel, to help us make sense of everything this primary season. Hey, Brian, good evening to you.
Good evening to you. Is there any way to make sense out of all of this?
Well, that's the question we're asking you tonight.
All right.
Thank you again for joining us here on Live Now. I do want to start with our first question. This is from Charlie S. from Wisconsin saying, how will the economy impact the midterms? And Brian, I wanted to mention inflation. It's at a 3-year high. That report came out this morning. What's your take on this?
Well, Charlie asks a very good question, and the economy always impacts an election. We've seen it multiple times in the modern era for the presidency. I'll take Charlie and viewers back to George Herbert Walker Bush coming off removing Saddam Hussein from Kuwait. He had a 90% approval rating, and this little-known governor from Arkansas named Bill Clinton ran on the economy. And in doing so, this president, this incumbent, who had just come off this big victory in the Gulf, was defeated, because the economy is always very important. And it's not just in the United States; it's around the world. Winston Churchill, after World War II, he was the leader during World War II. Could take a lot of credit really for leading the effort by Great Britain to win World War II, and his party was removed almost immediately at the cessation of World War II, because people wanted to get back to an economy that worked. So the economy is really, really important, and Charlie hits the nail on the head by asking the question. So the economy is going to be very important in the midterms, and I think we're going to hear a lot from Democrats and Republicans, but mostly Democrats, saying the economy isn't good and give us a chance.
Well, let me extend the question a little bit further. How about the war in Iran? How are voters feeling about this? How's this going to impact the midterms?
Well, if Donald Trump continues prosecuting this war in the Middle East, the closer we get to the midterms, the more people will start asking themselves, is it the war or is it the economy? And I think for a lot of Democrats, for almost all the Democrats, they're going to break for the economy. And I think for some Republicans who will tire of the tit for tat that's going on with Iran right now, will also decide, hey, we need to have Congress get very much involved in this to sort things out. And the sooner the president can take care of this problem in Iran, I think it'll be to the benefit of Republicans running for the House of Representatives and the United States Senate.
All right, Brian, let's move on here to our next viewer question. Jeff M. from California asking, what is the process for debates in the California governor runoff? Brian, both Democrat Javier Becerra and Republican Steve Hilton, they're moving on to the general election. My question to you, do you think they'll debate?
The answer is yes. And to Jeff's question, there is not a formal process for debates. It depends on whether the two camps, in this case, Javier Becerra and Steve Hilton, whether they can agree on location, on content, on who the moderators are, all these other things that go into a debate. My guess is that they almost cannot avoid debating. Hilton, of course, wants to debate. The question is whether Javier Becerra will be willing to debate, but I don't think he can avoid it. And so the answer to the question is not a real formal process or any process at all. It's really whether it can be arranged and which TV stations in California are willing to broadcast the debate, which should be most of them on a statewide basis, because this will be important for California in November.
We are going to talk more about California here in just a minute, but I do want to move on to our next viewer question. This is from Megan of Virginia Beach. They asked, what can I expect from the midterm elections? We got a couple questions like these, but this got me thinking, Brian, this isn't a presidential election, but midterms can decide the makeup of Congress. How
Yes.
can these elections impact the balance of power in the legislature? That's really what we're talking about here.
Right. Well, to Megan's question, I would refer to history. And history tells us that a sitting president in the midterm of his time in office does not typically do well. Only twice in modern history have presidents held Congress in their favor, as opposed to seeing Congress change to the other party. And that's because I think, by and large, people look at Congress and say, hey, and the presidency, and say, we need a checks and balance system. And so we're not always comfortable as a country with say, a Democrat president and a Democrat Senate and House of Representatives or a Republican. We've had that. We have had it recently. But in the midterms, this is when the country decides, hey, are we on the right path or are we not on the right path? Are we on the path that the president says we're on or we're not? And so, again, history does not favor the incumbent president, in this case, Donald Trump, does not favor the president retaining control of both houses, the Senate and the House. He may be able to hold on to the Senate, depending particularly on what may go on in Maine with the Plattner-Collins race.
All right, I am going to take us out now to a live look at Capitol Hill. There is so much to talk about. You just mentioned looking at the history of some of these congressional primaries, but I want to take it back to California. There has been scrutiny over California's election process over slow vote counting, and that's primarily because of California law around mail-in ballots. Brian, my question for you, what is California law, and do you think that there is pressure on election officials to re-examine how the state does their ballot processing?
I think it'll be re-examined, but frankly, a lot of Californians, the vast majority of Californians, feel good about or think mail-in ballots work for them, and that's the key thing. The problem with mail-in ballots is that the Secretary of State of California and all 58 counties have a very long period of time, Alexandra, to ratify, to verify the ballots. And so in California, as juxtaposed, say, with Florida or some other state, takes a very long time to make decisions on who has won and lost. And it's not just at the gubernatorial level or for the Senate or the House or anything. It's all the way down to a school board. There are a vast number of elections in California, every election period, always held up by the mail-in ballot process. Even Gavin Newsom has criticized the amount of time that it takes to get the results, and it has another impact. You have candidates that are waiting around to find out what's going to happen in their lives. You've got voters who are waiting for the results. It kind of puts the brakes on everything for a long time. In California, the Secretary of State and all 58 counties have until July 10th to finalize the vote counts. And so we've got a ways to go, and there are a number of races around California where there are still outstanding ballots, thousands of them. And so it's a cumbersome process, but it is a convenient process for a lot of people. In the old days, the people who were mailing in ballots tended to be people who were housebound, disabled, just couldn't get out to vote at a polling station. But then it morphed over time, and it became a process by which it was deemed convenient for all voters to just get the ballot and mail it in. The one advantage, and I know all the disadvantages, the one advantage is that in theory, people have a chance to look at their ballot and to really make a decision about who they're going to vote for. So it isn't kind of a snap decision. You know, you walk into a polling place and you're presented with a long list of names and you start marking things. In theory, this obviates that, but it's really, really, again, cumbersome and tardy.
Great insight on that question. I want to stay in California for the next question. Of course, so much discussion around the governor's race, as we have been talking about. We know that whoever wins in November will replace outgoing Governor Gavin Newsom. Let's stay on his name for a second. He posted this on social media saying Javier Becerra has the experience and grit California needs. He will stand up to Donald Trump, defend our families, and keep our state moving forward. It's time to get to work and help him win this November. So Governor Gavin Newsom, he's term limited, as we have been discussing. He'll be out of office in January. Brian, what's next for him?
Well, first, the cynic would say, thank you, Gavin, for making your endorsement. You were unwilling to do it at any time during the primary, but there's a reason for that. He is going to be running for president. And all those Democrats that were running for governor, he didn't want to upset any of them by choosing one over the others. So over and time again on Live Now, I said, and to many other media outlets, he wasn't going to select somebody in the primary as his choice. He was going to wait until there was a Democrat winner, and then he would endorse that person, which he has done, not surprisingly, with Javier Becerra. But now the world changes for Gavin Newsom. There will be a new governor in California, and Gavin Newsom will have to wait now a period of time to really start a run-up for president of the United States. So I suspect that he's going to spend the next many months traveling around the country, doing interviews, meeting with key Democrats, trying to garner support in this run-up for president of the United States. But he has a lot of negatives. People in many states around the country don't really favor Gavin Newsom. And then there's just the question, Alexandra, of who else on the Democrat side of the aisle are going to be interested in running for president. You know, Shapiro maybe, or Kamala Harris could decide she wants to get back in it. She sort of signaled that she wants another try. But there's a number of Democrats around the country that say, hey, Kamala Harris has had her day. It's time to look in a different direction. And oh, by the way, Gavin Newsom has been around for a long time, and he's not going to find favor in red states at all. And he'll find favor with Dems. But the Democrats may be looking for somebody, and should be looking for somebody, that can pull crossover votes. So that means somebody who can clean up on the Democrat side, of course, but also may appeal on some level to Republicans who aren't happy with the Republican Party at this time, to decline to states, and to independents who, by the way, even though they say they're independent, they are, at one point they were probably Democrats or Republicans, and so their politics basically fall into those two categories, and they tend to break in either camp that they came from. So Gavin Newsom has a lot of work to do, and the real problem for him is that he is going to be on the sideline now for a long time. He's got to go out and find what we in the news business call earned media. I mean, he's got to find a way to make a story so that somebody will cover him. And so that's going to be his challenge in the coming months, the coming year and 2 or 3 months, until he says, hey, I'm going for the presidency, which I have no doubt that he's doing.
There's so much to keep our eyes on. As I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, we are really at about that halfway mark in these primary elections. There have been so many states with very closely watched races. We're talking Kentucky, Texas, California, and so many more states to go until, throughout the rest of the summer, until about September. And then it's a pretty fast track until November, and these races will be decided by the voters.
That's the way it works, and it'll be interesting to see whether history repeats itself in terms of switching out the party in power, or whether Donald Trump, who, by the way, has done very well in the primary system in terms of Republicans. I mean, his endorsements are almost 100%. The people he endorsed have won everywhere. But now it moves on to a Democrat versus Republican, and it'll be a real referendum for the president of the United States as well.
All right, political analyst Brian Sobel, thank you so much for coming on Live Now from Fox. We have a lot more viewer questions, so we'll have you back soon to answer the
Oh,
rest.
it's always nice to know that the viewers are sending in their questions. They're all great questions. Keep them coming.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, Brian.
You're very welcome.